If you're looking for a comfortable space adventure, you have definitely come to the wrong deep dive.
Definitely.
Today, we are getting into Peter Watt's masterwork of hard science fiction, Blindsight. And I have to say, this book doesn't just ask philosophical questions.
No, it uses cutting-edge neuroscience and theoretical biology to answer them. And the answers are, well, they're brutal. It's this icy, logical nihilism.
It's often called the gold standard of unsentimental sci-fi.
It is. The
Right.
sources we looked at, I mean, excerpts, critiques, even the scientific notes, they all point to Watt's absolute brilliance at synthesizing huge amounts of real-world research.
He has this poetic way of making you feel the terrifying scale of the universe.
He does, but the conclusion he draws from it is just. It's harsh. The universe is indifferent, and life has one rule: grow.
Okay.
And it doesn't care who's in the way.
And that's really our mission today, to unpack that shocking core argument. It challenges, well, everything we assume about ourselves, about our own superiority. Watts is so good at grounding you in the viscerality of an experience, even with characters who are, deeply unlikable.
Or even sociopathic. But that's all just the stage, isn't it?
Exactly. The stage for the really big, terrifying idea.
Yeah.
What if human consciousness isn't an evolutionary gift? What if it's a disastrous, self-destructive design flaw?
It's such a heady premise, and what makes the book so powerful is that he supports it with actual science. He argues that our subjective awareness, that feeling of being you,
The thing we value most.
right, is actually an evolutionary luxury, and a very, very expensive one.
Okay, let's jump right into that, because that flies in the face of, well, centuries of human thought. What's the evidence the sources cite for consciousness being so inefficient?
Well, the notes point directly to neurological studies. They compare conscious thought to unconscious processing. And empirically, self-awareness is slow. It consumes a huge amount of metabolic resources.
So your brain isn't built for truth, it's built for survival.
Exactly. It's optimized for quick, dirty survival decisions. The unconscious mind, on the other hand, is it's far better at making complex choices.
Why? Why is it better?
Because it doesn't get bogged down in all that internal debate, the second guessing.
It's like a professional musician. They're amazing on stage, but if you ask them to consciously think about where to place every single finger,
They freeze up. They can't do it. It's the same principle. The brain actually has a kind of biological gatekeeper to stop the conscious self from messing with daily operations.
which is why big breakthroughs, those eureka moments, they often happen when you're not actively thinking about the problem.
Yeah. Precisely. It shows up in a dream, or it just pops into your head fully formed from the subconscious. Your conscious mind was just getting in the way.
That is a fascinating way to think about it.
Yeah.
And if the brain's priority is survival, not truth, well, that means we must be lying to ourselves constantly.
Absolutely. The brain is a survival engine, full stop. If self-deception helps you survive, the brain lies. We don't experience the world as it is. We experience a simulation. Simulation.
A simulation built from assumptions, from shortcuts. The sources describe us as being agnosiac by default. We are literally wired to ignore truths that are irrelevant, or, more importantly, truths that would hurt our chances of survival. We can't handle unvarnished reality.
And that feeds right into the book's intense nihilism. Horrible things happen for no reason. There's no plan. But one of the critiques I saw was interesting. It suggested that this pervasive futility can, paradoxically, almost feel comforting.
Comforting how?
Because it gives you an excuse for hopelessness. It lets you feel like the most cynical, fatalistic response is also the wisest one.
That's a really powerful point. By making the universe indifferent, he just strips away any pretense of human exceptionalism. And to explore that idea, he sends the most unconventional crew imaginable.
Right. A collection of essential outcasts, as one source put it, each one bound by a complementary misfortune.
They're all functionally post-human. Let's talk about them. Starting with the narrator, Siri Keaton. His job is synthesist, which is defined as explaining the incomprehensible to the indifferent.
And to do that job, he had a radical hemispherectomy as a child.
Which is, for anyone who doesn't know, when they surgically remove half of your brain.
Yes. And his remaining hemisphere adapted. It turned him into this high-functioning pattern recognition machine. The novel frames his entire function around the philosophical idea of the Chinese room.
Okay, break that down for us simply. The Chinese room analogy is so critical to understanding Siri.
Right. So imagine a person locked in a room. They get messages slid under the door, all written in Chinese. They don't understand a word of Chinese.
Okay.
But they have a giant rule book, an algorithm that says, if you see this squiggle next to that squiggle, you write down this other squiggle and slide it back out.
So they're just matching patterns.
Exactly. To an outsider, it looks like they're having a fluent, intelligent conversation in Chinese, but they have zero semantic comprehension. They don't understand what they're saying.
And that's Siri.
That's Siri. He can synthesize data, translate the bleeding edge of physics for the crew, but he doesn't feel the shock. He doesn't understand the meaning. He's a perfect, unfeeling conduit for an objective reality.
And then you have the commander, Juka Sarasti, who is even more extreme. He's a vampire.
A paleogenetic vampire, yeah.
Hmm.
A predator species resurrected from extinction using advanced genetics.
His whole design is about evolutionary efficiency.
It is. He's built from the DNA of high-functioning autistics and sociopaths. The source notes are clear. His psychopathy isn't a flaw. It's an optimized survival strategy.
Empathy would have gotten in the way.
It would have crippled his species. They prey on humans. Empathy would have meant extinction.
But he has this amazing biological flaw, the crucifix glitch.
Which is just brilliant world building. Vampires have a biological, seizure-inducing aversion to right angles, the shape of the cross.
So when humans started building with straight lines, with squares and crosses,
it kept the vampires at bay. Now he manages it with implants that literally distort his vision so he doesn't see right angles. It's a great detail showing that even a perfect predator has evolutionary baggage.
And finally, you have the linguist, Susan James, who is called the Gang of Four.
Because she fragmented her own mind, she has multiple personae, Sasha, Michelle, and so on, all running at once to enhance her ability to communicate.
She's the complete opposite of Siri.
Totally. He's one unified, unfeeling conduit. She's so dedicated to understanding that she shattered her own identity into pieces to process more information. The whole crew is a collection of necessary monsters.
And they're the only ones who can handle what's waiting for them.
Exactly. What's waiting for them deep out in the Oort cloud, aboard their ship, the Theseus.
The mission was fast-tracked after these strange transmissions were detected from an engineered comet they named Rorschach.
Right, and before they even get there, the novel sets the stage by talking about how humanity thinks about first contact. Watts basically says we fall into 3 tribes of thought.
What are the 3 tribes? It really defines the whole risk of the mission.
Okay, so first, you have the optimists. They think any species that can cross the stars must be enlightened, beyond petty conflict.
The common sci-fi trope.
Then you have the historians. They look at our own track record and say advanced tech always leads to belligerence, exploitation, or genocide.
And the third one?
The third tribe is maybe the most terrifying. The tribe that just didn't give a shit.
Meaning?
The fatalists. They believe any truly advanced civilization would have ascended or moved beyond our comprehension. They'd be so powerful that we would be completely beneath their notice. And their indifference would be the greatest danger of all.
Wow. That's a terrifying context for this mission. They're heading toward Rorschach to investigate these things called the Fireflies.
65,536 identical probes that just surveyed Earth. Just watched.
And when the Theseus gets to Rorschach, they find the aliens themselves, the Scramblers.
And the biology is it's completely alien. The biologist on board describes them as these complex, radially symmetrical anaerobes. But the really mind-bending part...
What's that?
They don't seem to have genes, no DNA.
Hold on. How does a complex organism even work without a genetic blueprint? That seems impossible.
This is where the hard sci-fi part really earns its name. Watts replaces genes with something he calls Turing morphogens. They rely on Rorschach's own electromagnetic fields for their metabolism.
So they're not like a traditional organism?
Not at all. Think of it more like a emergent complexity.
Like a sand dune or a traffic jam. The structure just arises from the interactions of the parts, not from a central plan.
You got it. They're like self-assembling Legos driven by the environment itself. Life doesn't need a blueprint to spread, it just needs the right conditions for complexity to arise.
And this complexity gets even weirder when they try to talk to it. The Gang of Four, the linguist, they start receiving fluent English from the entity.
Fluent, coherent English. But it's wrong. It misses all the ambiguity, all the nuance.
It's the Chinese room again.
On a cosmic scale, Rorschach can process language, probably better than we can, but it has no idea what it's saying. It can talk, but it can't converse.
And this is where all that philosophy from the beginning connects with this terrifying alien reality. The final discovery about the Scramblers' intelligence comes right back to the flaw of human consciousness.
Yes. The final, absolutely chilling realization is about our own vision. The crew realizes the Scramblers can move in a way that exploits tiny flaws in our eyes, specifically our saccades.
That's a technical term. For those of us who haven't studied neuroscience, what's a saccade?
A saccade is just the super fast movement your eyes make when you shift focus. From one word to the next on this page, for instance. It happens thousands of times a day. But here's the thing. During that fraction of a second when your eyes are jumping, your visual cortex basically turns off. It filters out the motion so you see a smooth, stable world.
So for a tiny fraction of a second, we're effectively blind, but our brain just papers over it.
Exactly. And the Scramblers are so fast, way faster than our nerve impulses, they learn to move only during those tiny gaps.
Oh my God.
They are perpetually invisible because our own brains filter them out. They can move into your blind spots. They can literally look into your visual cortex.
How is that even possible for a creature to develop that strategy on the spot without some kind of super intelligence? And yet they're described as dumb as a stick.
And that is the terror. That's the proof of the novel's entire thesis. They're not conscious. They're not aware. They have blindsight spread over every sense. They're just huge, efficient Turing machines.
You give them input.
And they output the most efficient survival strategy instantly, without the slow, expensive, self-obsessed step of understanding what they're doing.
The implication for humanity is just devastating.
It proves the whole argument. The Scramblers are the evolutionary norm. They process information, they manipulate resources, they survive. And they never even know they exist. Humanity, with our slow, resource-hungry consciousness, we are the doomed fluke, the unaffordable indulgence.
A mistake evolution should have corrected. And this truth is delivered to Siri, the synthesist, by Sarasti the vampire, in the most horrific way.
Sarasti vivisects him, not out of cruelty, but as a lesson. He explains that consciousness makes you conscious of pain, it makes you distracted, it's a weakness.
A perfect predator teaching the final lesson.
And then he saves Siri. He makes sure he survives, because Siri is the necessary conduit. He has to take this truth back to Earth.
Because Sarasti knew humanity couldn't accept it otherwise.
He knew! Our built-in self-deception, that gatekeeper, is too strong. He needed to present a case so undeniable that our defenses would just shatter. He had to force the species to confront its own obsolescence.
And in the end, Siri finally understands. He develops this painful empathy for the vampires.
He realizes they were meant to inherit the Earth. Human sentience was the anomaly. The only reason we survived was a stupid linked mutation that let us tolerate right angles. We are a design flaw that just got lucky for a little while.
The real horror of Blindsight is looking in the mirror, realizing that the thing we think is our greatest strength, our aware, subjective mind, is actually the thing that will get us killed.
It's the fundamental limitation that degrades our ability to survive when we finally meet a reality that only cares about efficiency.
So we leave you with Watt's final provocative question based on this whole deep dive. If the scramblers are the norm organisms that manipulate the world without being self-aware, and our consciousness is functionally a virus, something that eats up resources for zero fitness payoff, what then is the intrinsic value feeling of self-reflection if it actively makes us worse at surviving? What is the point of being conscious of the world if the world doesn't care if you are?